The warning lights flashed red across the bridge of the Zephyrian ship Astral Harmony. Captain Kethver stood tall, his crystal-like skin catching the light as he studied the display screen. His forearms moved quickly over the control panels, while his crew watched with nervous energy. "Unknown vessel detected, Captain," announced Navigator Ythel, her voice carrying the musical tone that all Zephyrians shared. "It appears to be of alien design." Kethver had commanded ships for over 30 cycles, but this was different. The vessel ahead was unlike anything in their databases. It was smaller than most warships, but larger than a typical research craft. Its hull was smooth and metallic, with strange markings along the sides. "Scan for weapons," he ordered. "Minimal." "Defensive systems detected," reported Weapons Officer Zekton. "They have shields and basic plasma cannons, but nothing that poses a threat to us." The captain found this puzzling. Most species they encountered were either heavily armed or completely defenseless. This ship seemed to fall somewhere in between, as if its builders were confident, but not aggressive. "Open communication channels," Kethver commanded. "Let us see who these beings are." The main screen flickered to life, showing the interior of the alien vessel. Two beings stood before the camera, and Kethvar felt his breathing pause. They were so different from anything he had seen before. Their skin was smooth and pale, without scales or crystal formations. They had only 2 arms and 2 legs, and their faces were soft with small eyes and strange patches of hair on their heads. "Greetings," said the taller of the 2 beings. His voice was deep and steady. "I am Commander Jake Sullivan of the human vessel Pioneer's Edge. This is Dr. Lisa Martinez, our head of research." The female stepped forward slightly. She was shorter than her companion, with long dark hair pulled back from her face. Her eyes were bright and curious as she looked at the screen. "We come in peace," she said with a warm smile. "We were not expecting to encounter other intelligent life in this sector, but we are honored to meet you." Kethver exchanged glances with his diplomatic attach, Nithara. The beings called themselves humans, and their manner was unlike any first contact protocol he had studied. They seemed genuinely pleased to see strangers, not cautious or defensive. "I am Captain Kethver of the Zephyrian Republic," he replied. "Formally, your presence in this region is unexpected. What brings you to the borders of our space?" Commander Sullivan gestured to something off-screen. "We are conducting research on the various life forms in this part of the galaxy. Dr. Martinez leads a team studying how different species adapt to space travel and isolation. We have been here for several weeks," Dr. Martinez added. "Our sensors have detected some fascinating biological signatures in this area. We hope to learn more about how life spreads throughout the galaxy." Nithara stepped forward, her diplomatic training taking over. "Perhaps we could arrange a formal meeting? It would be beneficial for both our peoples to establish proper relations." The humans looked at each other and nodded. "We would welcome that," Sullivan said. "Would you prefer to meet on your vessel or ours?" This surprised Kethver. Most species insisted on meeting on neutral ground or demanded that others come to them. The humans seemed comfortable with either option. "We will come to your ship," Kethver decided. "It will give us a chance to learn more about your people and your technology." "Excellent," Dr. Martinez said, her smile growing wider. "We will prepare our main conference room. How many will be in your party?" "Myself, my diplomatic attach, and 2 security officers," Kethver replied. "Perfect. We will expect you in 1 standard hour. Please transmit your docking requirements, and we will adjust our bay accordingly." The communication ended, and Kethvar turned to his crew. "Prepare a shuttle. Full diplomatic protocols, but keep weapons at ready status." "Captain," Ithara said carefully, "these humans seem very accommodating. Perhaps too much so. It could be a trap." Zekton nodded in agreement. "Their ship is not defenseless, but they act as if they have nothing to fear from us. Either they are very foolish or very confident. Cathver considered this. The Zephyrians had encountered many species over the centuries. Some were aggressive from the start, others were fearful and defensive. These humans were neither. They seemed genuinely curious and welcoming. We will proceed with caution, he decided, but we will also show proper diplomatic courtesy. If they are truly peaceful, we do not want to make enemies unnecessarily. An hour later, Cathver and his small team boarded their shuttle and approached the human vessel. A docking bay opened smoothly, and mechanical arms guided their craft. Inside, the bay was clean and well organized, with several other smaller vessels stored along the walls. Commander Sullivan and Dr. Martinez were waiting for them as they emerged from the shuttle. Both humans wore simple uniforms in dark blue with various insignia on the sleeves. They stood at attention, but without the rigid formality that most military species displayed. "Welcome aboard the Pioneer's Edge," Sullivan said, extending his hand in what Kethva had learned was a human greeting gesture. "We are honored to host the first official Zephyrian delegation to our ship." As they walked through the corridors, Kethver noticed how different the human ship was from Zephyrian vessels. The lighting was softer and warmer, and there were small plants growing in containers along the walls. The air smelled clean, but carried traces of something organic and alive. "Your ship has an interesting atmosphere," Nithara commented politely. "We try to make it feel like home," Dr. Martinez explained. "Long voyages can be difficult for our crew, so we include elements from our home planet wherever possible." They passed through several sections of the ship, each serving a different purpose. Kethver saw crew members of various ages and appearances, all working together efficiently. The humans seemed to function well as a group, despite their obvious individual differences. "Here is our main laboratory," Dr. Martinez said, stopping beside a large window that looked into a research facility. "This is where we conduct most of our biological studies." Kethver looked through the window and felt his blood freeze. Inside the lab, contained within a specialized enclosure that took up nearly half the room, lay a creature that no sane being would keep aboard their ship. It was a Vorthik. A massive predator was easily 3 meters long, with powerful limbs and razor-sharp claws. Its dark scales glistened under the laboratory lights, and even unconscious, it radiated an aura of deadly power. Vorthiks were known throughout the galaxy as unstoppable killers, creatures that destroyed entire colonies without mercy, and these humans had one living on their ship. Kethver could not move. His 4 arms hung at his sides as he stared through the laboratory window at the sleeping Vorthik. Behind him, he heard Ziktan make a sharp intake of breath and the sound of a weapon being drawn. "Put that away, Commander," Sullivan said quietly, but his voice carried authority. "The creature is secure." "Secure?" Nithara whispered, her voice barely audible. "That is a Vorthik. They are death itself given form." Dr. Martinez stepped closer to the window, her expression calm and focused. "This individual has been with US for 6 days now. We found him badly injured and near death." Kethver finally found his voice. "You found a Vorthik and brought it aboard your ship? Are you completely insane?" The human doctor looked at him with surprise. "Insane? No, Captain. We are researchers. When we find an injured creature, we help it. That is what we do." "But it is a Vorthik," Zekton said, his security training making him scan the room for threats. "They have destroyed 17 colonies in the past 5 years. They kill everything they encounter. This one was dying when we found him," Dr. Martinez explained patiently. "He was trapped in a damaged escape pod, drifting in space. His life support was failing, and he had multiple injuries." Commander Sullivan gestured toward the creature. "We could have left him to die, but Dr. Martinez convinced me that we should try to save him. It seemed like the right thing to do. Kethfer felt his legs shake. The right thing to do? These humans had no idea what they were dealing with. Vorthics were not just dangerous animals. They were intelligent killers who enjoyed causing pain and fear. They were the reason whole sectors of space remained empty. How long has it been? Unconscious? He asked. He wakes up for a few hours each day, Dr. Martinez said. We keep him sedated most of the time while his body heals, but we need to monitor his responses and make sure he is eating properly. You feed it? Nithara asked in horror. Of course we feed him. He is our patient. As if responding to her words, movement came from within the laboratory. A young human male entered the secured area, carrying a tray of what looked like food. He moved confidently, showing no fear of the massive predator that lay just meters away. That is Ben Carter, my research assistant, Dr. Martinez explained. He has been helping me care for our patient. Kethvar watched in amazement as the human approached the Vorthik. The creature's eyes opened slowly, focusing on the small being that stood nearby. Those eyes were intelligent and aware, filled with the cold calculation that made Vorthik so terrifying. Ben Carter spoke softly to the creature, his voice too quiet for the observers to hear through the containment system. He placed the tray within reach of the Vorthik's powerful claws and stepped back slightly. The predator raised its massive head and looked at the food. Then it looked at Ben Carter. For a long moment, neither moved. Kethfer held his breath, certain. He was about to witness the young human's death. Instead, the Vorthik lowered its head and began to eat slowly and carefully. It never took its eyes off the human, but there was no aggression in its posture. If anything, it seemed almost curious about the small being who had brought it food. Impossible, Zekton breathed. Vorthics do not eat in the presence of other creatures. They kill first, then feed. This one does, Dr. Martinez said with obvious pride. It took 3 days, but he has learned to trust us. He understands that we are not a threat. Ben Carter moved closer to the creature, checking what appeared to be monitoring equipment attached to its body. The Vorthik continued eating, but allowed the human to work without interference. The trust goes both ways, Commander Sullivan added. Ben volunteers for this duty. None of our crew members are forced to work with the Vorthik, but several have asked to help. They volunteer to be near a Vorthik? Kethfer asked. Your people truly are insane? Dr. Martinez laughed, a sound that seemed completely out of place given the circumstances. We prefer to think of ourselves as curious. This is the first time anyone has had the opportunity to study a living Vorthik up close. We are learning so much about their biology and behavior. What have you learned? Nithara asked, her diplomatic training overcoming her fear. They are far more intelligent than most people realize, the doctor replied. Their communication is complex, involving not just sounds, but also chemical signals and body language. They have excellent memory and can learn new behaviors quickly. Inside the laboratory, Ben Carter was now sitting on a chair near the Vorthik's containment area. The creature had finished eating and was watching the human with what looked like interest rather than hunger. Ben has been teaching him basic hand signals, Dr. Martinez continued. Nothing complex, just simple communications like food, water, and rest. He picks them up remarkably fast. You are teaching it to communicate with you? Zekton asked, his security instincts screaming danger. Why not? He is intelligent enough to learn, and we are intelligent enough to teach. It makes caring for him much easier when we can understand what he needs. Kethver watched as Ben Carter held up his hand in what was clearly a signal. The Vorthik responded with a slight movement of its own clawed hand. The human nodded and made a different gesture, which the creature copied. This is what your people call research? Kethver asked. This is what we call compassion, Commander Sullivan replied. We found a creature in need, and we helped it. The research is just a bonus. But when it recovers, what then? Nithara asked. Vorthix cannot be tamed or kept as pets. They are apex predators. We will release him when he is healthy enough, Dr. Martinez said simply. We will take him to a safe location where he can return to his natural environment. And you believe he will simply leave peacefully? Zekton asked. We believe he will remember that we helped him when he needed it most, the doctor replied. Vorthix have excellent memories. They remember their enemies, but they also remember their friends. Ben Carter stood up and approached the containment barrier. He placed his hand flat against the transparent wall. The Vorthix looked at him for a moment, then placed its own massive claw against the barrier from the other side, matching the human's. Gesture. That is impossible, Zekton whispered. That is trust, Dr. Martinez corrected. He knows we could have left him to die, but we chose to save him instead. He understands the difference between kindness and cruelty. Kethver felt something cold settle in his stomach as he watched the interaction between the human and the Vorthix. These beings were either the most foolish creatures in the galaxy, or they understood something about power that his own people had never grasped. Come, Commander Sullivan said, moving away from the laboratory window. Let us continue our tour. There is much more to see. As they walked away, Kethver glanced back at the laboratory. The Vorthix was still watching them through the window, its intelligent eyes following their movement. Those eyes held no malice, but they held something else that made the Zephyrian captain very uncomfortable. They held recognition. The diplomatic meeting took place in the human ship's main conference room. Kethver sat across from Commander Sullivan and Dr. Martinez, but his mind kept returning to the image of the Vorthix, placing its claw against the barrier where the human had placed his hand. Nithara was speaking about trade agreements and territorial boundaries, but the captain found it hard to focus on her words. Captain Kethvar, Dr. Martinez said, interrupting his thoughts. You seem troubled by our patient. Is there something specific about Vorthix that concerns your people? Kethver looked at the human doctor with disbelief. Something specific? They have wiped out entire worlds. The Vorthix wars lasted for decades and cost millions of lives. They are not patients, Dr. Martinez. They are weapons of mass destruction. This one has not hurt anyone since we found him, she replied calmly. In fact, he has been quite cooperative. Because you keep him drugged and locked up, Zekton said from his position near the door. The sedation is only to help him heal. Faster, Dr. Martinez explained. His injuries were severe. As for being locked up, the containment system is as much for his protection as for ours. He is still weak. Commander Sullivan leaned forward in his chair. Perhaps you could tell us more about these Vorthix wars you mentioned. Our databases have limited information about conflicts in this region. Nithara exchanged glances with Kethver before speaking. The wars began approximately 40 years ago, when the Krellian Empire started using Vorthix as living weapons. They would capture them, partially tame them, and then launch them at enemy colonies and special pods. The Vorthix would break out of the pods and attack everything they found, Kethvar continued. They showed no mercy to anyone. Men, women, children, elderly, it made no difference to them. They killed for the pleasure of killing. Dr. Martinez frowned. That does not match what we have observed. Our patient shows clear signs of intelligence and emotional responses. He can be reasoned with. Perhaps your patient is different, Nithara suggested diplomatically. Or perhaps, said a new voice, you have never tried to understand them. Everyone turned to see a human woman entering the conference room. She was tall and lean, with short red hair and grease stains on her uniform. She carried herself with the confidence of someone who is used to solving problems. This is Chief Engineer Amy Foster, Commander Sullivan said by way of introduction. Amy, we were just discussing our guest with Captain Kethver and his team. Amy Foster took a seat at the table. I helped design the containment system for the Vorthik. It was an interesting challenge. Containment system? Zekton asked. You mean a prison? No, I mean a living space, Amy corrected. The creature needed a place to recover that was both secure for us and comfortable for him. We studied everything we could find about Vorthik biology and behavior before we built it. She pulled out a small device that projected a three-dimensional image of the laboratory containment area. See, the walls can be adjusted for temperature and humidity. The floor has different textures to match what a Vorthik would find in its natural environment. We even included areas where he can hide if he feels threatened. Kethvar studied the projection. You built a comfortable prison for a creature that would kill you without hesitation. We built a recovery room for a patient who needed our help, Amy replied firmly, and he has not tried to kill anyone. In fact, he seems to enjoy the company. Enjoy the company? Nithara repeated. Dr. Martinez is not the only one who spends time with him, Amy explained. Several crew members have volunteered to help with his care. He responds differently to different people, almost like he has preferences. You allow multiple humans near this creature? Zekton asked, his voice rising with alarm. Of course. He needs social interaction. Vorthiks are not solitary creatures, despite what most people believe. They have complex social structures in the wild. Commander Sullivan nodded. Our security officer, Pete Davis, has been particularly helpful. He has a natural way with animals, and the Vorthik seems to trust him. Your security officer spends time with a Vorthik? Kethver could not hide his amazement. Pete volunteers for the night shifts, Dr. Martinez said. He says the creature seems lonely in the dark hours. Pete sits with him and sometimes reads aloud from books. The Vorthik appears to find the sound of his voice soothing. Amy Foster smiled. Pete jokes that he has the strangest guard duty in the fleet, but he takes it seriously. He says no creature should have to recover from injuries alone. Kethver felt his understanding of the universe shift slightly. These humans were not just keeping a Vorthik alive, they were keeping it company. They were treating it like a person rather than a monster. What do you hope to accomplish with all this? He asked. Understanding, Dr. Martinez replied immediately. For too long, everyone has seen Vorthiks only as killers. But what if they are more than that? What if they can be reasoned with, communicated with, even befriended? That is impossible, Zekton stated flatly. Is it? Amy Foster asked. Our patient has learned to recognize individual crew members. He responds to his name. We call him Rex. He follows simple commands and has even learned to ask for things he needs. You gave it a name? Nithara whispered. Him, Dr. Martinez corrected gently. Rex is not an it. He is an individual with his own personality and preferences. He likes music, especially classical pieces with complex harmonies. He dislikes bright lights and loud noises. He has favorite foods and shows curiosity about new things we bring him. Commander Sullivan stood up and walked to the window that looked out into space. We have been in contact with several xenobiology experts throughout the galaxy. None of them have ever had the opportunity to study a living Vorthik under controlled conditions. The data we are collecting could change how everyone understands these creatures. Or it could get you all killed, Zekton muttered. Everything involves risk, Amy Foster said. But some risks are worth taking. If we can prove that Vorthiks are not mindless killers, if we can show that they can be reasoned with and even befriended, think about what that could mean. It could mean an end to the fear, Dr. Martinez added. An end to the wars. Maybe even an end to the hatred. Kethver looked around the table at the human faces. They were all serious, all committed to what they were doing. They truly believed they could change the galaxy's understanding of one of its most feared creatures. How long do you plan to keep him? Nithara asked. Until he is fully healed, Dr. Martinez replied. Then we will find a suitable place to release him, somewhere safe where he can return to his natural life. And you believe he will go peacefully? Kethver asked. We believe he will remember. U.S., Commander Sullivan said quietly. We believe he will remember that when he was hurt and helpless, humans chose to help him instead of harm him. The captain felt that cold feeling in his stomach return. There was something about the way the human commander spoke those words, something that suggested depths of meaning that Kethver did not fully understand. Come, Amy Foster said, standing up from the table. Let me show you some of the other modifications we have made to accommodate our guest. You might find them interesting. As they left the conference room, Kethver wondered what else these humans had done. Every answer they gave him only led to more questions, and he was beginning to suspect that was exactly what they intended. Amy Foster led the group through the corridors of the Pioneer's Edge toward the ship's defense systems. The walls here were thicker, and Kethvar could see the telltale signs of military-grade armor plating. Despite their peaceful appearance, the humans had built the research vessel to survive in dangerous space. These are our primary defensive systems, Commander Sullivan explained as they entered a control room filled with displays and monitoring. Equipment. Nothing too impressive by military standards, but sufficient for a research vessel. Zektarn examined the weapon arrays with professional interest. Plasma cannons, shield generators, point defense systems. Standard equipment, but well maintained. We prefer to avoid conflicts when possible, Sullivan said. But space can be dangerous, and we have valuable research to protect. Amy Foster activated one of the displays, showing a three-dimensional map of the surrounding star systems. This is our current position, and these are the patrol routes we have been monitoring. Red dots appeared on the map, moving in patterns that suggested organized military activity. Kethvar recognized the formation immediately. Those are Krellian warships, he said, his voice tense. Indeed they are, Sullivan replied casually. A full battle fleet, moving through this sector for the past 2 weeks. Nithara stepped closer to the display. Why are you monitoring Krellian military movements? Are you planning to engage them? Quite the opposite, Dr. Martinez said, entering the control room behind them. We are trying to avoid them while documenting their activities. A new human joined the group, a woman with short blonde hair and the bearing of someone used to precise work. This is our navigation officer, Carol Thompson, Sullivan introduced her. Carol has been tracking the Krellian fleet's movements. Carol activated additional displays, showing detailed tracking data. The Krellians have been hitting civilian transports throughout this region. 17 attacks in the past month, all following the same pattern. What pattern? Kethver asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. They disable the target vessel, board it, and then launch something at it from a distance, Carol explained. The ships are always found completely destroyed, with no survivors. Vorthic pods, Zekton said grimly. They are using them as weapons. Again, that was our conclusion as well, Sullivan said. The Krellians capture Vorthics, place them in specialized pods, and launch them at enemy ships. The creatures break out and kill everyone aboard. Amy Foster pulled up another display showing wreckage patterns. We have analyzed the debris from several attack sites. The damage is consistent with Vorthic claws and teeth. No other weapon creates that specific type of destruction. Kethver felt his stomach turn as he looked at the data. You know about the Vorthic weapons program, yet you still chose to rescue one of them. Because we know about the program, Dr. Martinez said firmly. We understand how these creatures are being used and abused. Carol Thompson pointed to a section of the tracking data. 3 days before we found Rex, there was a Krellian transport attacked by raiders near the Helix Nebula. The transport was carrying a cargo of Vorthic pods. Raiders? Ithara asked. Pirates, most likely, Sullivan explained. They probably thought the pods contained valuable cargo. They had no idea what they were really stealing. The transport was destroyed in the attack, Carol continued. Most of the pods were lost, but our sensors detected several escape pods launched during the battle. Rex was in one of them. So your patient was being transported as a weapon, Kethver said. He was a prisoner, Dr. Martinez corrected. Captured, drugged, and stuffed into a pod to be launched at some unsuspecting ship. When we found him, he was dying from the injuries he sustained when his pod was damaged. Amy Foster activated a new display showing the interior of a Vorthic pod. The images were disturbing. A cramped metal container barely large enough for the creature inside, with restraints and drug injection systems. This is how the Krellians transport them, she said. No food, no water, no comfort. Just enough life support to keep them alive until they can be used as weapons. The pods are designed to break open on impact, Carol added. The Vorthics inside are usually injured, angry, and desperate. They attack anything they find because they have been driven to madness by their treatment. Zekton studied the pod design with growing horror. They are torture devices. Exactly, Dr. Martinez said. The Krellians are not just using Vorthics. As weapons, they are deliberately torturing them to make them more savage and unpredictable. Commander Sullivan walked to the main viewing screen, which showed the vast expanse of space outside the ship. When we found Rex, he was nearly dead from his injuries. But more than that, he was terrified. He had been trapped in that pod for days, possibly weeks. The first time we tried to approach him, he attacked the medical equipment, Amy Foster said. Not us, the equipment. He was trying to destroy anything that looked like the systems that had been used to hurt him. It took hours to convince him that we were not going to harm him, Dr. Martinez added. Even when he was unconscious from his injuries, he would wake up fighting. He expected pain and imprisonment. Kethver looked at the images of the pod, then back at the humans. But you persisted. We could not leave him to suffer, Dr. Martinez said simply. No creature deserves to be treated like that, no matter how dangerous they might be. Carol Thompson brought up another display, this one showing communication intercepts. We have been monitoring Krellian communications since we found Rex. They are looking for their missing cargo. The entire fleet is searching for the lost pods, Sullivan said. They know that at least 3 Vorthics escaped when the transport was destroyed, and they want them back. Rex is one of the missing weapons, Amy Foster explained. The Krellians have been expanding their search pattern, hitting more and more civilian ships as they look for their lost property. Nithera processed this information. So by rescuing this creature, you have denied the Krellians one of their weapons. One weapon, yes, Sullivan said. But that is not why we did it. Then why? Kethver asked. Dr. Martinez smiled, but there was something in her expression that made the Zephyrian captain uneasy. Because we wanted to see what would happen when a Vorthic was treated with kindness instead of cruelty. We wanted to see if they could remember the difference. Remember? Zekton asked. Vorthics have excellent memories, Amy Foster said. They remember everything, every pain, every fear, every moment of suffering. But they also remember every kindness, every gentle touch, every act of mercy. Commander Sullivan turned back to face the group. The Krellians have been using Vorthics as weapons for decades. They have created monsters through torture and abuse. But what if someone showed these creatures that not all sentient beings are enemies? What if someone proved that there was an alternative to hatred and violence? Dr. Martinez added. Kethver felt the cold sensation in his stomach grow stronger. You are not just studying this creature. You are trying to change it. We are trying to heal it, Dr. Martinez said, in every way possible. And when you release him? Nithara asked quietly. When we release Rex, Sullivan said, he will carry the memory of human kindness back to his own people. He will remember that when he was broken and dying, humans chose to save him rather than use him. The implications hit Cuthbert like a physical blow. These humans were not just rescuing a single Vorthik. They were attempting to reprogram the entire species' understanding of what other sentient beings could be. They were not just showing mercy to a dangerous predator. They were declaring war on the concept of using Vorthiks as weapons. 3 hours later, as the Zephyrian delegation prepared to return to their ship, alarms began sounding throughout the Pioneer's Edge. Kethver and his team followed Commander Sullivan to the bridge, where crew members were working frantically at their stations. "Report," Sullivan ordered as he took his position in the captain's chair. "Krellian battle cruiser approaching from the port side," announced the tactical officer. "They are demanding to board us for inspection." Carol Thompson looked up from her navigation console. "It's the Krellian vessel Shadow of War. They have been leading the search for the missing cargo. How long until they reach us?" Sullivan asked. 15 minutes at their current speed," Carol replied. Kethver watched as the humans responded to the threat with calm efficiency. No panic, no desperate scrambling for weapons. They seemed almost as if they had been expecting this moment. "Dr. Martinez to the bridge," Sullivan spoke into his communication device. Within moments, the doctor arrived, still wearing her laboratory clothes. "Is it time?" she asked simply. "It appears so," Sullivan replied. "Are you ready?" Rex has been awake for the past hour. He seems to sense that something is happening. Nithara looked between the humans with growing confusion. "You speak as if you planned for this encounter." "We have been broadcasting our location and activities on multiple frequencies for the past 3 days," Sullivan admitted. "We wanted the Krellians to find us." "You wanted them to find you?" Zekton asked in disbelief. "Why?" "Because," Dr. Martinez said, "it is time for Rex to go home. But first, we need to make sure the right message goes with him." She led the group back to the laboratory, where the Vorthik was indeed awake and alert. The massive creature was standing in his containment area, his intelligent eyes focused on the activity around him. "Rex," Dr. Martinez called softly. The Vorthik turned his head toward her voice. Even through the containment barrier, Kethvar could see the recognition in those dangerous eyes. Dr. Martinez approached the control panel for the containment system. "We have been preparing for this moment since the day we found him. Rex understands what is about to happen." "What do you mean?" Ithara asked. "Watch," Dr. Martinez said, and she began a sequence of hand signals that the Zephyrians had seen her use before. The Vorthik responded with his own gestures, his massive claws moving with surprising delicacy. The exchange continued for several minutes, and Kethver realized he was watching an actual conversation between a human and one of the galaxy's most feared predators. "What are you telling him?" he asked. "I am explaining that the Krellians are coming," Dr. Martinez replied without stopping her gestures. "I am telling him that he will be free soon, but that he must remember everything we have shared." The Vorthik made a series of sounds that almost seemed like speech. Dr. Martinez nodded and made more gestures. "He understands," she said finally. "He knows what he needs to do." Ben Carter entered the laboratory, carrying what looked like a small device. "The memory recorder is ready, Dr. Martinez." "Memory recorder?" Kethver asked. "Vorthiks communicate through a combination of pheromones, sounds, and bioelectric signals," Dr. Martinez explained. "This device records all 3 components of their communication and can play them back." She took the device from Ben and approached the containment barrier. Rex, are you ready to send your message? The Vorthik positioned himself close to the barrier and began making a complex series of sounds and movements. The device in Dr. Martinez's hand glowed softly as it recorded everything. What kind of message? Nithara asked. The story of his. Time with us, Dr. Martinez replied. Every kindness he experienced, every moment of care, every gentle touch. But most importantly, the fact that humans chose to heal him instead of using him as a weapon. The recording continued for nearly 10 minutes. When it finished, the Vorthik made one final gesture that looked almost like a salute. Bridge to Dr. Martinez, came Sullivan's voice over the communication system. The Krellians are demanding immediate surrender of their property. On our way, she replied. As they returned to the bridge, Kethver tried to process what he had witnessed. You are planning to give the creature back to the Krellians? We are planning to let Rex choose his own path, Dr. Martinez corrected. But yes, he will be leaving with them. Along with his message, Ben Carter added, holding up the recording device. The main screen showed the Krellian battlecruiser, now very close to the human ship. It was a massive vessel, bristling with weapons and armor plating. The design was intimidating, built to inspire fear in anyone who saw it. Open communication with the Krellian vessel, Sullivan ordered. The screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of the Krellian ship. The beings that appeared were tall and muscular, with thick gray skin and prominent bone ridges around their eyes. Their leader, wearing elaborate military decorations, glared at the humans with obvious contempt. I am Commander Vikvar of the Krellian Imperial Navy, the alien said. You have stolen property belonging to the Empire. Surrender it immediately, or face the consequences. Commander Vikvar, Sullivan replied calmly. We have indeed rescued one of your Vorthiks. He was badly injured when we found him, but we have provided medical care. The creature belongs to the Empire, Vikvar snarled. Its condition is irrelevant. Of course, Sullivan said. We understand your claim. We are prepared to transfer the Vorthik to your custody immediately. This seemed to surprise the Krellian commander. You will surrender without resistance? The creature never belonged to us, Dr. Martinez said, stepping into view of the communication screen. We only wanted to help him recover from his injuries. Vekvar's expression showed confusion and suspicion. Why would you waste resources healing a weapon? Because that is what we do, Sullivan replied simply. We help those who need help. 20 minutes later, the transfer was complete. Rex had been placed in a specialized transport pod designed by Amy Foster. Nothing like the torture devices the Krellians used, but a comfortable space with proper life support and room to move. As the Krellian ship prepared to depart, Kethvar watched the humans on the bridge. They showed no signs of regret or fear. If anything, they seemed satisfied. You realize what you have done? He asked Dr. Martinez. We have given a tortured creature a chance to remember what kindness feels like. She replied, and we have given him the tools to share that memory with others, Ben Carter added, patting the memory recorder that had been hidden in Rex's transport pod. The Krellians will use him as a weapon again, Sektan pointed out. Perhaps, Sullivan said, but Rex will remember that there is an alternative, and he will share that memory with every other Vorthik he encounters. Vorthiks have a collective memory system, Dr. Martinez explained. Important experiences are shared through their bioelectric communication. Rex's memories of human kindness will spread throughout their entire species. Kethver felt the cold sensation in his stomach reach his heart. You have not just rescued one creature. You have sent a message to an entire species. A message that some beings choose mercy over cruelty, Sullivan confirmed. A message that not all advanced species see them as disposable weapons. And what do you expect will happen when that message spreads? Nithara asked quietly. Dr. Martinez smiled. And this time Kethver saw the full scope of what these humans had accomplished. "We expect," she said, "that the Krellians are about to discover that their weapons have learned the difference between their captors and their saviors." 2 weeks after the Krellian ship departed with Rex, Kethvar found himself unable to concentrate on routine duties aboard the Astral Harmony. The diplomatic mission had been a success in terms of establishing formal relations with the humans, but the captain's mind kept returning to what he had witnessed on the Pioneer's Edge. "Captain," Nithara announced as she entered his private quarters, "we are receiving some interesting communications from across the sector." "What kind of communications?" Kethvar asked, though he suspected he already knew. "Krellian military transmissions. They appear to be experiencing some difficulties with their weapon systems." Kethvar followed his diplomatic attach to the communication center, where the ship's intelligence officer, Yethel, was monitoring various frequencies. "Show me what you have found," Kethvar ordered. Yethel activated the main display, which showed a map of the local star systems. Red dots indicated Krellian military activity, but the pattern was different from what they had observed before. 3 days ago, the Krellians attempted to attack a civilian transport near the Proxima station, Yethel reported. "They launched a Vorthic pod as usual, but something went wrong." "Wrong how?" Nithara asked. "The Vorthic broke out of the pod, but did not attack the transport. Instead, it attacked the Krellian ship that had launched it." Kethvar felt his breathing pause. "The Vorthic attacked its handlers?" "According to intercepted communications, yes. The creature caused significant damage to the Krellian vessel before they were able to subdue it. 2 similar incidents have occurred since then." The intelligence officer brought up additional data. "Here is a communication we intercepted from the Krellian commander Thekvar to his superiors." A recorded voice filled the room, speaking in the harsh tones of the Krellian language. The universal translator converted the words to something the Zephyrians could understand. "The weapons are becoming unreliable. 3 separate incidents of target confusion. The creatures are attacking our own forces instead of designated enemies. Request immediate investigation of weapon conditioning protocols. Target confusion." Kethvar repeated. "They think it is a technical malfunction." "There is more," Yethel continued. "Communications between Krellian ships indicate that handlers are reporting increased difficulty in controlling their Vorthic weapons. Some creatures are refusing to enter the launch pods. Others are breaking out of containment before deployment." Nithara studied the data with growing amazement. "The humans predicted this would happen." "They did more than predict it," Kethvar said grimly. "They caused it." Another voice joined the conversation as Communications Officer Danny. Price's transmission came through from the Pioneer's Edge. The human ship had remained in the area, ostensibly continuing their research. "Zephyrian vessel Astral Harmony. This is Danny Price aboard the Pioneer's Edge. Captain Sullivan requests permission to share some information that might interest you." "Permission granted," Kethvar replied. The main screen switched to show the interior of the human ship's communication center. Danny Price, a young man with dark hair and friendly eyes, appeared on screen. "Captain Kethvar, we have been monitoring the same communications you have. Dr. Martinez thought you might like to understand what is really happening." "Please explain," Kethvar said. "The Vorthics have a neural network that connects their entire species," Danny began. "When one of them experiences something significant, that memory gets shared with others through bioelectric signals. It is like a collective consciousness." "We knew this," Ithara said. "But what you might not know is how quickly these memories spread," Danny continued. "Rex has been in contact with at least 12 other Vorthics since returning to Krellian custody. Each of those has shared his memories with others. The network effect is exponential." Kethvar processed this information. "So Rex's memories of human kindness are spreading throughout their species." "Exactly." But it is more than just memories of kindness. Rex remembers everything about his time with us. He remembers that humans found him dying and chose to heal him. He remembers gentle voices and careful hands. He remembers being fed when hungry and comforted when afraid. And this is causing the Vortex to refuse to attack human ships? Nithara asked. Not just human ships, Danny replied. Rex's memories include something else important. He remembers that humans rescued him from a pod that was designed to cause pain and suffering. The collective memory now associates those pods with torture, not just containment. So they are refusing to enter the pods at all. Kethver understood. Some are. Others are entering the pods, but remembering Rex's experience once they are launched. They remember that escape is possible, that there are beings who will help rather than harm them. Danny Price paused and looked directly at the camera. Captain, the Krellians built their weapon system on the assumption that Vortex could be kept in a state of constant fear and rage. But Rex's memories have shown them that fear is not their only option. The humans have given them hope, Nithara whispered. Hope. And something else, Danny continued. Rex's memories include the faces and scents of every human who helped him. The Vortex now know what kindness smells like, what gentle voices sound like, what careful healing feels like. Kethver understood the full implications. They can recognize friend from enemy. Dr. Martinez wants you to know that this was always about more than saving one creature, Danny said. It was about proving that the cycle of violence and fear could be broken. The Krellians turned Vortex into weapons by torturing them. We turned one weapon back into a living being by showing him compassion. And now that compassion is spreading through their entire species, Kethver said. The effect is accelerating, Danny confirmed. We estimate that within 6 months, every Vortex in the galaxy will carry Rex's memories. They will all know that there are species who choose mercy over cruelty. What will happen to the Krellian weapon program? Nithara asked. Danny Price smiled, and Kethver saw the same expression he had seen on Dr. Martinez's face. The Krellians are about to discover that you cannot build an army of weapons out of beings who remember what friendship feels like. The communication ended, leaving the Zephyrians alone with the magnitude of what they had witnessed. They have turned compassion into a weapon, Zektan said, speaking for the first time since the conversation began. No, Kethver corrected. They have turned compassion into something far more powerful than any weapon. They have turned it into truth. Truth? Nithara asked. The truth that not all advanced species are enemies. The truth that some beings choose to heal rather than harm. The truth that even the most dangerous predators can recognize the difference between cruelty and kindness. Kethver looked out at the stars, thinking about the humans and their dangerous act of mercy. We thought they were naive to show compassion to a Vortex. We thought they were foolish to risk their lives for a creature that could kill them. And now? Nithara prompted. Now I understand that we were the naive ones. We thought power came from the ability to destroy. The humans have shown us that true power comes from the ability to transform. Transform what? Zektan asked. Kethver turned back to his crew, finally understanding what he had witnessed aboard the Pioneer's Edge. Everything, he said. They have not just rescued one Vortex. They have given an entire species the memory of what it feels like to be saved instead of used. They have planted the idea that mercy exists in the universe. And that idea will spread, Nithara said. Yes, and when every Vortex in the galaxy carries the memory of human kindness, when they all know that there are beings who choose to heal rather than harm, the Krellians will discover that their greatest weapons have become their greatest weakness. Kethver looked out at the stars one more time, thinking about the small human ship somewhere in the darkness. We watched them feed a wounded predator and thought it was mercy, he said quietly. We were wrong. It was not mercy at all. What? Was it? Nithara asked. It was a declaration of war against the very concept of turning living beings into weapons. And I believe the humans have already won.